Just a little bit sweaty in here. All right, so the police getting away with murder. How do they do that? Well, they start off small, just like any criminal entity. They start off with the little guys. And for some of them, that's good enough. I am currently opening up the side door so that I don't roast. However, it's lights hitting my computer. My computer is black and it's going to overheat, so I have to close the door that I just opened. Depends on the time of day. Now let's start off small. Let's start off before the police murder somebody. We start off with teaching them bullying tactics and who to take them out on. And that all comes down to poverty. No, you can't take it out on Donald fucking Trump. He will squash you with his goddamn wallet. However, it starts off with the police academies and police training across the United States, teaching them who they can victimize and who they can't, how to get away with it. Brandon Jepson, while he was going to Torrington, Wyoming, he was telling me how cool it is that there's all these different loopholes and walkarounds for all of these laws. Like, yeah, you know, it's illegal for a police officer to do this, but if you do this, then you can get away with it. And he was so excited about that. I'm going to catch bad guys by being a lying piece of shit. Fucking hey, Brandon, it's a good thing you got busted with a loaded firearm in your dorm room. You'd be a shitty fucking cop. But he's also the one that was teaching me about, well, like the push me, pull you. What's that? That's where the officers, they put you in cuffs. You're already in cuffs. You can't defend yourself. You're in cuffs. One of them pulls you from one side and then jerks you over and slams you to the ground and says, "Stop resisting." That's the push me, pull you. All officers are taught how to do these things. Pain compliance, such as the attempt to break your wrist. When you're trying to turn in a police officer and they're doing everything in their power not to do their fucking jobs. Now, I keep getting told that I have to call these police agencies in order to get them to make a report. The police agencies that did me wrong, I have to go to. Really? Because when I go to those agencies, they tell me they're not allowed to investigate themselves, and I need to call the agency that I had just called. It's nobody's fucking job. It is nobody's job. Now, I tried to go to an outside source, an outside agency. That's what people kept telling me to do. Sean, you can't go to the police department that harmed you. They're not allowed to investigate it. But then what do those people tell me? They tell me, oh, you need to call the department where that happened. Chapel, Nebraska. Who am I going to talk to in this department who doesn't work for Scott DaCosta? That's what I want to fucking know. Now, how does that graduate into murder? Well, let's take a look at the Nazis. Just doing their jobs. Just following orders. Well, if you're following unjust laws and murdering people, then you're a piece of shit. Police officers and soldiers are the most likely people in America to beat their wives. Most likely occupations to beat their wives, or husbands in some cases. Also, what's the number one thing that American soldiers are in federal prison for? Child molestation. Literally, military prisons are the only prisons that have more child molesters than homeless people. The only ones. They're the only prisons in America that have a higher rate of child molesters than black folks. A higher rate of child molesters. Yeah. Soldiers. They get away with these things by working together. These officers, they work with their coworkers. They have a drink afterwards. They talk shit about the homeless. Everything is fine and dandy. One of the issues that I have in this town is that a lot of people know how crooked Officer Hahn is, but he's a father with kids. So they're like, dude, man, he's a dad, you know? He's a crooked fucking cop. And his kids are learning that. You're going to allow him to get away with the crimes that he committed, knowing that he committed those crimes because you feel bad for his kids? Do you feel bad at all for his victims? Do you? Cops get away with this by probing for excuses. Calling me mentally ill. The police knew what they were doing is wrong, but they used that mentally ill tag to justify breaking the law repeatedly across the nation. And to this day, nobody is going to investigate it. Why? Because when they call you mentally ill, literally, you can either take it up the ass, which is what I have to do, or you have family who cares, because they're not going to listen to you once they've tagged you with mentally ill. And all of these people who offered to help me, that I explained that to repeatedly, they want to continue being alcoholics and meth addicts. So their brains are deprived of oxygen, and they want to continue to tell me to do things that I cannot do. They will not let me do these things myself. When I try, I get victimized, blown off, or ignored. The police will not investigate any of the crimes against me because they will not take anything I say seriously unless I threaten to fucking kill people. And that's the last thing out of me that anybody should take seriously. If I'm threatening your life, you shouldn't have threatened mine first. Now, have I threatened anybody's life with the intent of actually doing so? Hell no. Every single crime that I've committed to force the police to do their goddamn jobs. Now, the most heinous crimes that were committed against me, I don't have it in me to commit those crimes. And all of the crimes that I committed, I made sure that a police officer told myself or one of the other people trying to turn this in that it was not against the law. If it is not against the law for them, then it's not against the law for me. And then I do those things, and it's apparently against the law. Well, hold on a second here. Didn't you tell me that it was not against the law when these people did it to me? Didn't you tell me there was nothing you could do about it when it happened to me? Oh, yeah, that's right. Because every police officer and police agency that I had to talk to before Natalie died, after Natalie died, they were hell-bent on hiding the fact they didn't do their fucking jobs. That they ignored crimes against a disabled person. When I worked with Tamara from Region 1 here in Nebraska, she did her job. Nicole Peralta was just after her money from the sliding fee scale. Same thing with Region 1. They just want their money from the sliding fee scale, like Jen Beebe. All of the therapists that I've gone to see, this is their livelihood. They need the money. They can't survive without the money. If they don't do their jobs and still get the money, they should not have those jobs, just like the police. Now, where we end up with police murdering people is when we allow these officers to do these things to the homeless. This is where all of them start. All of them start bullying the homeless before they graduate to going after black people and Native Americans. They all start with the homeless. This is nationwide. While you're bitching that these things are happening because of skin color, no, protocol has nothing to do with skin color. If they're killing white people and Native Americans with this very same protocol, then it is not a racist issue. It is a poverty issue. Meanwhile, if you want any effective change, you need to work together. But BLM, the racist hate group, well, those folks are making it worse for all of us. Because, see, they're not in and they're not out. They're not actually in the fight to win it. They don't really have the fortitude for that, which is why most of the people that you see BLM folks assaulting are not police. The problem here is police brutality. And who are these people who are claiming to be BLMers taking it out on? The elderly, the young, primarily white people, elderly people, and young people. Yeah, it sure sounds like you're fighting against police brutality. Yeah, that totally looks like a fight against police brutality. No, the fuck it doesn't. It's like racism. It looks like victim blaming and victim shaming. It looks like projecting. It looks like blaming the wrong people. White people did this. White people did this. White people made these laws. Bitch, I didn't make none of these laws. Police graduate to murder when they're secure enough in their position and with their coworkers that those coworkers are going to back them up. It doesn't matter if it's murder, rape, whatever. Those police officers are behind the same blue line of bullshit, and they work together. Instead of BLM ganging up 6 or 8 or more against one innocent white person, why don't they gang up as a group against the police? If the police are doing these things, don't take it out on white people, take it out on the police. White people do not hold that occupation. Every white person in America is not a fucking cop. Most of us, regardless of color, are not police officers. We're not. When you want to hate somebody for police brutality, hate the fucking police. If you are being victimized by the police, do not take it out on children. Do not take it out on old people. Do not throw firecrackers at the fucking homeless. Go after the fucking problem, the goddamn cops. Being racist against other victims and victimizing innocent people is not fucking okay. Yeah, I prefer it if you guys are nice. But if being an asshole is the only way to get hurt, by all means, be an asshole. Don't down local stores. There are plenty of police stations in the United States. Don't go shooting innocent people. There are plenty of cops who use this protocol every single day. And by the way, since every single cop in the United States is taught who to victimize, every police officer in America knows that they are doing wrong just by putting on the badge. If you are enforcing immoral laws and you still put on that badge, well, then we need to send your bitch ass to Nuremberg. What's Nuremberg? That's where we sent a whole bunch of German police officers who are just doing their jobs. A lot of them got hung. A bunch of them got, well, other forms of death just shortly after the war was over. Hermann Goering, he got lucky and bit into a cyanide capsule the day before he was due to be hung. We got secret police in the United States. Secret police, the SS. We're not talking about the Secret Service. The Secret Service is an extension of the Treasury Department. The Treasury Department. FBI, those are our secret police. Instead of investigating civil rights violations like they're supposed to, they spend most of their time hiding rights violations, hiding their ineptitude, hiding the fact that they're getting innocent people killed because they don't want to do their jobs either. Officer Holloway, the things that I had been saying since day one, when I went in there to talk to Deputy Holloway here in Chapel, Nebraska, he said the same things I've been telling y'all along, that I needed somebody to go in with me. Or those guys are less likely to do their jobs. It's human nature. The same thing for black folks, the same thing for Native Americans, the same thing for poor people across the nation, regardless of color. I'm not going to tell the other victims of police brutality they need to shut up because this is a black issue. Police shot 8 unarmed black people in America last year. 8. There are 5 children who die in care every fucking day. How is this not a bigger issue? The largest cross-section of our populace is parents. There are more parents than white people, more parents than black people, more parents than women, more parents than men, more parents than Christians, more parents than Muslims, more parents than Republicans, more parents than Democrats, more parents than liberals. Parents need to get off their asses and fight for their kids, but they can't. A lot of the parents that I know are in fucked up situations, like the guy that I'm staying with. It's not his fault that this shit happened, but if he doesn't jump through these immoral and illegal hoops, he doesn't get to see his fucking kids. So the police are able to manipulate, harass, and threaten anybody with kids. Like what they did to Candace Bondurant, and you see how Candace Bondurant reacted to that. She went out of her way to do the most evil shit that she fucking possibly could because she was afraid for her fucking children at the hands of the police. She was afraid of the threats and harassment that she was receiving over the internet and the fact that the police obviously weren't going to do a goddamn about it. Now, she should have made that call to begin with, but she didn't. She should have made that call the day or the night that I got there. She should have made a call to 911 about the threats and harassment she was receiving. Instead, she turned off her Facebook. Like, great, Candace, I'm glad that you get to do that. I am glad that you are allowed to step away from the situation when you are put at risk, but you put yourself at risk. When people started harassing Candace, it's over pictures that were behind me. There was a lot of people in Chapel, Nebraska that hated me over that. Hated me for crimes that I didn't even commit. Since I first moved to this town, most of the people in this town have been looking for some excuse to justify the crimes that they have committed since I moved here. Oh, he's creepy, so it must be okay to do this. You know, they threw beer bottles at me in this town long before Natalie was ever killed. Matter of fact, they were throwing beer bottles at me in this town before Natalie Bollinger was born. Before she was born, people were like, well, why'd you move to Boulder if you're still going to be fucking homeless there? In Boulder, I got to be who I am, who I choose to be, not who it is that these people force me into. And I do mean force me into. When you're backed to a corner, literally, that's a lot different. It's a lot different than your pretty memes of walking away. Yeah, try walking away when you're backed into a fucking corner. Try walking away when police officers are trying to break your wrist. Try walking away while police officers are pretending like they're the victims. And that is how it starts. It starts with teaching the police how to pretend to be victims. I was afraid for my life. Bitch, you're the one with the gun. Meanwhile, I was looking at the statistics for how many people the police shoot every year. And guess what? According to 2019, we know exactly how many police officers were killed. 98 police officers were killed in the line of duty last year. 98. And 48 of those were killed. Most of the rest of them, well, it was things such as traffic accidents. You know, police killed more police officers in Colorado in 2018 than anyone else in Colorado. Police killed more police officers than all other people combined in the state of Colorado in 2018. Police did this. Police in Colorado killed 3 police officers. 3. Where's that fucking statistic? One of those officers was involved in a couple of very major cases involving child murders. And he was executed by police in the state of Colorado. They executed an officer, for Christ's fucking sake. You can see police progression from when they start off as a rookie and think that they're fighting crime to when they're 3 years in and their training with Officer Steinman is done and they're a fucking tyrant. Their entire job consists of nothing but human rights and civil rights violations. After 3 years, most of these officers are full-time criminals, getting away with rape, getting away with murder. Now the statistics for how many people the police killed last year, those numbers are all over the place. Anywhere from 500 to just short of 2,000 people were killed by police last year. How is there such a wide range there? Well, that's because the police and the FBI are apparently not keeping these statistics. Why wouldn't they? They keep statistics on all black people that they put through the system so that they can use these statistics as their excuse to victimize more black people. Oh, look, see, we have a 98% conviction rate. No. You have a 98% railroading rate. Where you deny them their human rights and their civil rights and their rights according to the Constitution until they finally fold. Where you abuse them despite the fact that they haven't even had a day in court. And you abuse them as if they're guilty. Yes, the guards do that nationwide. And they laugh and smile about it and think it's fucking funny. How else is it the police get away with this? Well, we give them fucking immunity. We give them immunity for their crimes. In 38 states, it is still legal for a police officer to fuck somebody who's in their custody. Holy fucking shit, Batman! But it starts off with little tricks. Little tricks that are illegal. According to the rules of war, not just set forth by the Geneva Convention, but also the Treaty of Versailles and several others since. It's illegal to torture people. It's illegal to torture POWs, but it's apparently not illegal to torture your own citizens. You just call it pain compliance. Actually, it's okay. According to Brandon Jeffson, one of the reasons for pain compliance is to obtain a confession, even if that confession is false, which torture has been shown that it doesn't produce honest results. Meanwhile, the results that the officers and the Bollingers got from me, what were those from? From torturing me, physically, financially, and mentally. Meanwhile, I have evidence from the victims, like Natalie Bollinger. Natalie's biological father fucked her and her sister at 13 years of age, stuck his penis in them. His name is Ted Eugene Bollinger. He didn't just fuck his daughters. He got them strung out fucking heroin and had them selling drugs on Pearl Street at 13 years of age. He'd get drunk and beat the fuck out of them. Their mom chose abusive men over her own children. And what happened as a result? Roseanne Kelly didn't have her kids. She had beatings instead. And her children did not have their mother. They had beatings and rapings instead. A lot of predators like heroin whores. That's what they're called. That is the street word for women like Natalie Bollinger, heroin whores. The reason is, you give them their heroin, they'll just lay there and let you do whatever the fuck you want. How fucking sick is that? And then the doctors, they want to give me opiates for my back. You know what happens if I'm on opiates? First of all, it doesn't touch my pain. It's still there. But when the opiate wears off, the pain is 10 times worse. They give you just enough of a prescription to get you hooked, and then they cut you off. I'm not going to have that. There's a guy in town named Dave, goes by the name Stretch. He fell off of a 200 tall radio tower 200 feet up in the air. He fell down and crashed on his back, and they gave him opiates for it. He said that quitting opiates was the toughest thing he ever did. He refuses to take them anymore. He wants his brain back. He says he still has issues with getting his brain back. He said, you know, it took me 2 years just to get back to where I am now, and I'm not improving anymore. Well, that's because after 2 years, your brain stops searching around your neural pathways to try to find a connection. When you damage part of your brain, here, wherever it happens to be that you damage your brain, that's not repairable. Your brain doesn't repair itself. It has to find a route around the damaged section. Meanwhile, long-term abuse leads to portions of the brain. Long-term PTSD leads to portions of the brain dying. It leads to permanent brain damage. But it's okay, isn't it? Because these aren't people. They never were. They weren't people. They didn't matter. When they got dropped off at 18 with nothing, not even an ID, you didn't care. These are now former foster children. They're adults, so they should be able to do it on their own without any of those resources. While their existence is illegal because they are homeless. You literally take them from being in foster care to dropping them off as a criminal. They're a criminal the moment they step out of foster care. If they have to go to the bathroom, it's criminal. If they have to sleep, it's criminal. If they get assaulted, it's their fault. This happens to a lot more people than you know. Most of the black people in the jails and the prisons were in foster care growing up. Most of the homeless, same thing. The police go for whoever it's easiest to victimize, just like BLM. These hate mongers claiming BLM, committing these atrocities, going after people their size one-on-one, or are they ganging up on little kids 6-on-1, or murdering old people? Vibe killer type, real shit, G. Keep staying positive. God loves you. You know, that was another one of them comments that people are like, oh, well, you know, since we're YouTube, we want to make that it's okay that he curses. Yes, it's okay that you fucking curse. You can curse on my goddamn channel. You can say fuck. You can say shit. You can say cunt. Yes, you can curse. Matter of fact, if somebody gets somebody else killed by their actions or by their lies, I would like it if you would refer to them as their first name followed by the word cunt. I would enjoy that very much. See, there's very specific rules to the insults that I spout. That's something that y'all may not pay attention to about people who are highly intelligent, especially with Asperger's. We like to make rules and we like to follow our rules. I've broken most of my rules in the last 3 years because it was the only thing that could possibly work. Had rules like if you're not 18, you're 12. If you're not 18, I don't want to hang out with you. You're a little kid. And people will get the wrong idea just because you want to hang out. A lot of little girls, these are literally the only people other than homosexual males who have made it blatantly clear that they are interested in me. Now, when I tell a homosexual I'm not interested, that's where it ends. But if you tell a girl that you're not interested, that you don't want the trouble, that people will assume the wrong shit and you can go to prison over a woman's opinion? They see that as a challenge. Oh, well, now I have to have him because I can't. Brianna Hernandez Cardona did that from when she was 15 to when she was 19. 19 years old. Of course, after I had sex with her, she was done with me, which is actually fine. I figured, you know, this young woman has been pushing this for almost 5 years. Maybe I should give her a chance. She's not mean to me. She's not cruel to me. She doesn't make fun of me. She just wants to spend time with me. And she's old enough to spend time with me. And I was there while she went through her complete and total slut phase, when she was tripping balls all the goddamn time and sucking off every dude that she knew. When Mobley got his holier than thou, this is what mentally ill and Christian does. He headbutted Brianna Hernandez Cardona when she was 17 years old because he saw a demon in her. Holy fuck, Mobley. Between your fucking demented bullshit and Christine Buhit's demented bullshit, both of you are two fucking peas in a pod. Many of the women that I see claiming that men are a certain way, those women are exactly like that. But where the law on paper and the law in real life differ is in human bias. Every single person on this planet's got some bias or another. The problem that we encounter is that when we can't keep that in check, how can we keep that in check? First of all, we need civilian oversight, trained civilian oversight, not people who are trained specifically to see what it is that the cops see, but specifically to look at the whole situation, to look at both sides. The government gives us chump change and bullshit, making it more illegal to do these things to black folks or to people of color is not going to make a way to enforce it. Because, by the way, it is already more illegal to do these things to a person of color than it is to do it to a white person. It's already more illegal. It is not enforced. Could be enforced if we were to force the police to wear body cameras and to prevent them from destroying evidence. And for God's sake, when it comes to the police, we need to get the fuck rid of the statute of limitations. Because these police officers can warp, manipulate, twist, and contort the law to run out the statute of limitations. And all they have to do is charge you with assault against an officer. If they do with assault against an officer, every officer in America treats you like shit. The ones who talk to you nicely are only doing so to manipulate you, to give you a false sense of security. When I tried to turn in Officer Waylon Lolatai, I called over 100 different places. Officer Waylon Lolatai got to take part in 6 more assaults after me. However, he assaulted someone in Denver as an officer. And instead of going to prison for it, see, this is the thing about police officers, is they can assault whoever the fuck they want, and then they get to just move on. If you assault a police officer, you go to prison for a very long time. If you assault another person, as long as that person isn't homeless, yeah, you're in big fucking shit. But a police officer with a history of violence can move on and continue his reign of violence somewhere else. somewhere like Boulder County, Colorado, it's not just the city of Boulder itself. It's all of Boulder County. That includes Longmont and its surrounding areas. The problem that we have is that when police agencies go unchecked for so long, that they are completely secure in the fact that they can rape you and get away with it. They can shoot you and get away with it. They can lock you up for crimes that weren't committed and get away with it. They can turn off their body cameras knowing that there are going to be no consequences for them turning off their body cameras, breaking the law, and then turning back on the cameras when you're pissed off that they tried to break your arm and going, hey, see how he's acting? Color gonna do anything. Connection is unstable. Jesus fucking Christ. Most of the Native Americans and their stories, MMIW, that I've been following, say the same exact thing I did. The police don't fucking care. They didn't fucking put any effort into finding out the truth or finding these missing people. With my case with Natalie, as soon as she died, police automatically, starting that very fucking moment that she disappeared, they started formulating a goddamn battle plan. Why is that? Why is it that immediately upon her disappearing, police started pulling that illegal bullshit? It's because I knew that I had been trying to get officers to listen, that I had been trying to turn these things in, and that I had been reporting on bad officers in the state of Colorado for years. The most marginalized people in America are the homeless, the foster children. Number 2 is former foster children. Number 3 is homeless. Number 4 is the mentally ill. Number 5 is the mentally disabled. Number 5 is the physically disabled. But it's a black problem, right? It's a black problem, right? No, police brutality is not a black problem. It's all of our problem. I was totally in support of Black Lives Matters until I saw literally hundreds upon hundreds of hateful, racist actions and comments and ignorance and excuses why the other victims deserve it. Why other victims need to shut up. That these other victims who are foster children, former foster children, homeless, mentally disabled, and physically disabled need to shut the fuck up and get to the back of the bus, because we're focusing on bull right now because black people are the most marginalized and victimized people in America. No, the fuck they're not. Even black people commit heinous, hate-motivated crimes against the homeless for exactly the same reasons that the KKK does so to black people. For the exact same reasons that the police do this to poor people nationwide. Meanwhile, homeless people will tell you, when you walk into a hospital as a homeless person, you go to the back of the fucking line, you wait longer than everybody else, and you get treated like a fucking junkie. So yeah, when the police bring in a homeless person and say, hey, we want you to diagnose him with this, they don't tell those doctors or nurses that you're trying to turn in those officers. Wyoming was such a small town, and that those people at that hospital were probably friends with those officers, and then later on they fucking proved it, and there's not a goddamn thing I can do about it, because I don't have the money for a real goddamn lawyer, and public pretenders don't do shit for the homeless. A homeless person is free money from the taxpayers for the public pretender's office, for the judges, for the DA, for the police, for the jails. It's all free money, but is it really free money? No, you guys are paying for it. You guys are paying the police to victimize the fucking victims. What percentage of the black folks incarcerated were homeless before they were incarcerated? What percentage of black people who were incarcerated were foster children? All of that shows poverty. Black folks in the houses get treated a lot fucking nicer. People actually give a shit if you were a black person in a house, but when you were a homeless black, nobody gives a fuck. Meanwhile, these Native Americans are being murdered by exposure, the same as the homeless nationwide, despite the fact that they're being killed at a higher rate than all of these other groups combined. There are more hate crimes against the homeless than all other hate crimes combined, times 5, not counting police interactions. Do you know why? Because the police refuse to take a report from a homeless person nationwide.